There's been some discussion around Vice President Harris's relationship with Willie Brown, former mayor of San Francisco.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing.
Oh my God. Trump was almost in a fatal helicopter accident with former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, who also used to date Kamala Harris. This is a crazy story.
And Willie was, he was a little concerned.
Apparently, while the helicopter was going down,
he told me terrible things about her. He had a big part in what happened with Kamala, but he I don't know, maybe he's changed his tune, but he was not a fan of hers very much at that point.
Willie Brown started talking trash about his ex. Seems like a weird time to talk trash about an ex, and probably it's because it's not true. This video is a tale of how pathetic Trump is in 4 acts. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. By the way, my podcast Last Week on Earth is back, where I deep dive into everything you need to know from the last week, including stories like this, so please subscribe. But here we go. So you just saw Trump telling a story that yet again seems very hard to believe, and it's probably because it's completely made up. So once Maggie Haberman at the New York Times, who has an amazing track record and sort of a passion in life, God bless her, for keeping Trump held to account, for calling out his lies, for researching what he says. Trump calls her complaining about something, and then of course tangents, as he always does, into complaining about this story that was debunked by the New York Times almost instantly after his press conference at Mar-a-Lago, where he just tangented into this totally fabricated story.
Trump got asked about Willie Brown, and he brought up this helicopter story. His issue is with Willie Brown, who is saying that this didn't happen. But in the middle of it, he said that he has, in the middle of this phone conversation, he said they found the records and it landed in a field and, indicated that he was going to release them. And I said that I would love to see them. And he made fun of me asking that in a sort of child sing-song voice, and then said he was probably going to sue. He said I didn't write the story, but I assume he meant the paper, for writing about this. If he has records, he should show them. What I thought was most interesting about this conversation, although certainly if he has these records, we would write about it. It'd be interesting.
So that's pretty strange. It sounds like Trump, for some reason, doesn't want to give up the flight records that he says he has and found, and instead made fun of Haberman for asking for them, which is what a reporter obviously would do. But don't take her word for it. How about Willie Brown himself? What did he say about the trash talk about Kamala, or about even being on a helicopter ever with Donald Trump? Take a look.
Another thing that Donald Trump said at this news conference was that you had said derogatory things about Vice President Kamala Harris to him in conversation. Have you ever had a conversation like that with Donald Trump?
No, I have not, nor anybody else.
It sounds like, at least according to you, this entire story, including the helicopter, the near emergency landing, and the conversation about now Vice President Kamala Harris, it just never happened.
Never happened. Period.
Crazy. That's so strange. Maybe it was somebody else, because it turns out it was somebody else. It turns out that there was a different helicopter flight that former California Governor Jerry Brown was on, a totally different person, a white person, and a totally different human being, was on with Donald Trump, and they apparently landed in a field. Apparently Gavin Newsom was on that flight as well, and confirms Willie Brown was not on it. So that's pretty strange. And then there apparently was another helicopter flight. Yeah, that's right, another helicopter flight, where apparently it almost went down. It's almost seems like maybe God is trying to tell Trump something. Who knows? And on that other helicopter flight, it seems that Trump was on it with another California lawmaker. In fact, LA City Council member back in the day, Nate Holden.
Former executive vice president of the Trump Organization and author of Tower of Lies, What My 18 Years of Working with Donald Trump Reveals About Him. Barbara, what's the real story here?
We were working with local politicians and state politicians, and one of the very important politician was this man, Nate Holden. He was the representative of the district on the city council. So Donald wanted to talk to him, and I'm sorry, Donald wanted to talk to him, so I tried to set up a meeting, and I brought Nate into the city, and then Donald told us the only way he can do it is if we go with him on a helicopter ride to Atlantic City, and they can have the meeting there in Atlantic on the helicopter. Finally, they said, look, we've lost some instruments and we're going to have to make an emergency landing. But I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, we're going to crash. It was just, we can't, keep going. So we found the closest airport and he landed us in Teterboro and everyone was fine. Donald was terrified. And after the whole thing was over, he was joking with Nate Holden, who happens to be a black man. And he said, Nate, you turned white. But let me tell you something. Donald was really, really scared.
So it seems maybe what really happened is that Trump just confused two black men. First, he either confused two people named Brown or confused two black men. And all of this, of course, is because Trump is freaking out, because he's dropping in the polls, because Kamala and Walz are surging, because he chose a very weird dude to match his very weird dude energy himself for his campaign. And even in his rallies, he's saying things on stage like, Biden would still be in if I didn't debate him. Why did I agree to debate him? Just out loud admitting that he does not know what to do with Kamala and her campaign. He's afraid to go against her. He doesn't know how to attack her. He's grasping at straws, and he wishes he had a older man with cognitive decline as his competitor. Instead, now Kamala Harris has an old man with clear cognitive decline as her competitor. Trump is too old to be in the race. We can all admit that. Trump is confusing people's names, confusing his own doctor's name. He called Dr. Ron Johnson, who he probably confused with Don Johnson from Miami Vice, which was a show back in the day. I think he then played Nash Bridges, but that's not the person he was supposed to be talking about. That is the doctor that apparently confirmed that Trump had a big gash in his ear, even though he's not currently his doctor anymore and is a congressman instead. But that's the doctor that Trump allowed to speak publicly about the complete disappeared ear wound. Very strange. That's a side note, and I do tangent. But the point is, Trump's running scared. He doesn't know what to do, and he's doing what he always has because he's not a man of substance who could actually take anybody on the issues or a plan for, say, the country you want to run. So instead, it's just trying personal attack after personal attack. And if that means making up stories completely out of thin air, that's what he does. He does it pretty well. Except, when people pay attention and call him out and easily fact check, and then he runs away scared like a little boy and threatens to sue and tell his mommy. So good luck on that, but I don't think mommy's going to save you on this one, Donnie. So sorry, bub. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. Subscribe to my podcast, Last Week on Earth with Ben Gleib, for lots more. Everything that happened during the last week on Earth, and a lot of stuff that does not even matter, that I have a lot of fun with. Hope to see you there. Thanks for listening, and the lights just dimmed, so it's time to go.